This episode is brought to you by DistroKid.
With Amex Gold, you can experience the gold standard. You get access to exceptional dining, plus 4 times membership rewards points on eligible dining purchases. That's the powerful backing of American Express. Terms apply. Cap applies. Learn more at americanexpress.com/withAmex.
It's Throwback Thursday.
Hey everybody, Chris DeMakes A Podcast producer Chris Fafalius here again to bring you one from the archives for Throwback Thursday. This week, we're taking it back to December 20th of 2021 when Chris's childhood idol Dee Snider sat in to discuss the writing and recording of Twisted Sister's 1984 classic, We're Not Gonna Take It. Obviously, this episode's awesome. I mean, it's Dee Snider, so if you haven't heard it before, get ready to be entertained. And if you did hear it 3 years ago, as a guy who's heard this episode many times, I can tell you that it can be even more fun on the second listen, so I hope you all enjoy it. Before we get started here, let me take a quick minute to remind you that we're on Patreon now. Just head to ChrisDeMakes.com to get weekly episodes of The After Party, early ad-free releases of new episodes of Chris DeMakes A Podcast, the unedited video version of Chris DeMakes A Podcast and The After Party, opportunities to come be on the after party with us, and lots more. So yeah, head over to ChrisDeMakes.com to keep making the show. We absolutely depend on your support, and joining our Patreon at ChrisDeMakes.com is the number one way you can help us out, and we'll do all we can to make it worth your while. Okay, with that said, here we go. From December 20th of 2021, here's episode 82 of Chris DeMakes A Podcast. Dee Snider discusses Twisted Sister's We're Not Gonna Take It.
Hey everybody, we've got a great one lined up for you. Today's guest is Dee Snider, lead vocalist for New York City rock and roll legends, Twisted Sister. Together, we take a deep dive into the inspiration, writing, recording, and overall story behind their 1984 breakout smash hit, We're Not Gonna Take It. Take it from their third full-length album, Stay Hungry. Dee, as usual, was in top form, his energy practically oozing out of the speakers. He talks about writing the track all the way back in 1980, when the band was literally starving. An anthem based on drive, perseverance, and a deep belief in oneself. Dee lets us in on a few secrets in this episode that directly relate to We're Not Gonna Take It, that involve the Sex Pistols, Def Leppard, and producer Tom Werman. It was amazing to hear that there were those in Atlantic Records who couldn't hear the potential in the track, and that it was almost left off the record. Unbelievable. And, seeing as the December holidays are here, it was only fitting to discuss the companion piece to We're Not Gonna Take It, the standard, O Come All Ye Faithful, which was recorded by the band in 2006 for their holiday album, A Twisted Christmas. The similarities between the songs are striking, and the story even cooler. So make sure you stick around for all of this and a whole lot more.
Hey, have you heard? Chris DeMakes A Podcast. Hey, have you heard? Chris DeMakes A Podcast. Hey, have you heard? Chris DeMakes A Podcast. Hey, have you heard? Chris DeMakes A Podcast.
So, I would normally jump right into the episode at this moment with today's featured guest. However, I felt the need to provide everybody with a brief oral history of Twisted Sister and what Dee Snider and the band still mean to this once 11-year-old middle-class kid from the suburbs. This band was the real deal. They began in 1972 and played every hole in the wall around New York, New Jersey, and New England, quickly amassing a huge following, routinely selling out 2,000 to 3,000 seat venues. The band tried desperately to get signed by a major label, only to be turned down time and again. Persistence and timing paid off. Secret Records, a small label out of England, signed the band and released their first album, Under the Blade, in 1982, which proved an underground hit for the band in the UK, leading to a legendary performance at the Reading and Leeds festivals in August of that year. Around this time, Atlantic Records UK came knocking and offered the band a deal. The next release, 1983's You Can't Stop Rock and Roll, was released but received little fanfare outside of the UK and literally zero promotion from Atlantic Records in the United States. It was the title track of that album where I first became aware of the band, as it was featured on a cassette compilation I had purchased. As fate would have it, the band recorded a second album for Atlantic in 1984 titled Stay Hungry. The lead single, We're Not Gonna Take It, was a smash hit, as well as its follow-up, I Wanna Rock, and the power ballad, The Price. Their videos were in heavy rotation on MTV, bringing this twisted bunch of freaks into every teenager's living room across America. These guys were my Kiss, my Alice Cooper, and my New York Dolls, all rolled into one. Their rebellious look and lyrics spoke to me like no other band had up to that point. They were my band, and I wasn't just a fair-weather fan. I bought and loved their 2 follow-up albums after Stay Hungry and remain a loyal fan to this day. To say I'm excited about this episode would be a vast understatement. If you'd have told this 11-year-old boy back in 1984 that he would someday be deconstructing We're Not Gonna Take It with the man himself, Dee Snider, I would have laughed at you. My dreams are still coming true. Thank you, Dee, JJ, Eddie, Mark, and AJ, for being a huge part of the soundtrack to my youth. So let's jump in now with Dee and get the full story behind We're Not Gonna Take It. Well, hey, Dee, how's it going?
It is going great, man. Life is pretty grand. I mean, these are like weird times, certainly the last couple of years. So and that should give people more perspective, not less, on how fortunate or lucky you are. You know, when you hear some, nightmarish stories over these past years about not only, death and sickness and illness, but then personal financial loss and struggling that some people are going through. So if you are able to escape those things, you consider yourself blessed, whoever you are.
Absolutely. Well, I had told you before we started recording here that I had given the listeners, some history of Twisted Sister because I felt it was really important to what we're going to talk about today, the perseverance of your band. I chronicled everything you went through from the early 70s, building the band, getting that deal with Secret Records, finally getting signed with Atlantic, doing those legendary performances at the Reading and Leeds Festival over in England in August of 82. And then You Can't Stop Rock and Roll. That was the first track I heard from you guys. It was on one of those K-Tel heavy metal comps or cassettes back in the day. And the next thing I know, you were my band. You spoke to this 11-year-old kid from Port Charlotte, Florida, like no other. And I want you to take us back right now. You're in between You Can't Stop Rock and Roll, which is crazy because that record came out in 83. You had toured behind it. And then Stay Hungry came out on May 10th of 84. Back then, time was different as a kid. 5 months seemed like 10 years. I'm looking back now going, when did you even have time to collect your thoughts and begin writing Stay Hungry? So I guess I'm going to ask, do you remember writing We're Not Going to Take It?
Let me just say one thing about your reference to time. First of all, when I was writing my memoirs, Shut Up and Give Me the Mic, I did it chronologically, and I was amazed to step back and go, wow, that was only 6 months, and it seemed like, oh my God, it seemed like forever. And now, you look at 6 months and go, oh, it's nothing, but anyway, so I get that, that time in just juxtaposition or whatever you want to call it at that point. So the way I used to work, and I say used to, I regret that I stopped right after Stay Hungry, this process. And that was probably one of the problems with Come Out and Play. And this should be pretty interesting to you. I was always writing the next album while recording the previous one.
Awesome.
So we, the first album, Under the Blade, as there's some phrase that, that the first album takes like years and years to create. Because a lot of those songs were like, You Can't Stop Rock and Roll. Lift up your hands in praise. You can't stop rock and roll. You can't stop rock and roll. Which, by the way, was supposed to be on the Under the Blade record. That was going to be the title track for Under the Blade. We had already had that song. That was a club song. And at the last minute, the president, Martin Hooker, who wound up doing Music for Nations, but he was president of Secret Records, he panicked. He said, rock and roll as a word wasn't acceptable. Makeup wasn't acceptable when that album came out, and the idea of using the word rock wasn't cool. So he pulled that, and we saved it, wound up becoming the second record. So, but while we were recording Under the Blade, and we were literally in a barn in the farm country of England. It was bizarre. Mendoza, when he would like test out his bass amps, I would watch the cows literally just shitting, like wildly shitting. Like he'd be in there. And then it was like amazing. Maybe you can help old elderly people with that. So, but I remember I'd sit in the van and writing and working on the next record. And so I'd often say, like guys would say, you know, like, oh, we need more like this. I said, oh, I got something good coming up on the next album. They're like, well, what about this album? But, you know, I said, no, it's not there yet. But I've got these ideas. So, and then when we came to Can't Stop Rock and Roll, I was working on the Stay Hungry record. Now, in particular, but the one song you mentioned is We're Not Gonna Take It is an oddity. We're Not Gonna Take It, there was a period of time, you know, as you know, bands in my position where you break through in a big way, you get that initial like arms wrapped around you, and your people have stood by you for so long are like, yes. And then at some point, when everybody starts getting into the band that they secretly held and treasured, I call it the diamond in the pocket.
Yeah. That
band, and for me, it was AC/DC, it was Queen, that you wrote it everywhere. AC/DC. You wanted the world to know about AC/DC. Twisted used to play it in the bars. This is a band called AC/DC. This is Sin City. Check them out. Like nobody knew them. And you wanted, everybody should know AC/DC. And then all of a sudden Back in Black hits. And the original fans get this sense of abandonment, like somehow something, now the diamond is on display for the world to see, and they're being pushed back away from the display case. You're in the back of the crowd going, but I was that guy. I mean, I saw Queen open for Mott the Hoople. I was the only person in the Uris Theater, singular, who was standing and screaming so loud, I was embarrassing the band, because the only thing worse than no response from the audience is one really weird tall guy in the balcony losing his shit. I mean, and I remember Brian May at one point, like squinting, looking up, going, who is, like my friends are begging me to sit down. It's Queen, it's like Queen. I'm losing my shit, you know. So I hope I can curse. So, but
all you want.
You know, so We're Not Gonna Take It became that song. Suddenly we broke through, and it was this thing. Then all of a sudden, those original fans like, oh yeah, the band sold out and went commercial. Now, back to your point. I wrote the hook to that song in 1980. Couldn't have been more broke. Couldn't have been more struggling. It came to me, but I didn't have the whole song. And I sat with that hook for 3 years. I kept coming back to it. I remember Eddie Kramer, we had recorded I'll Never Grow Up Now with Eddie Kramer on a demo. We recorded Bad Boys of Rock and Roll, 2 anthemic type songs. I call them, We're Not Gonna Take It, you know, Mach 1, Mach 2, you know, like they were like the first attempts at that anthemic sing-along kind of thing. And I remember saying, these are really good. What else? You got anything else? I said, I'm working on something that is going to be huge. And I had the hook, 1980. And so every time I'd come back to writing, do a writing session, I always would pull out that hook, and I couldn't figure out what the verse and chorus was supposed to be like. So in 1983, when I was working on stuff we were working on You Can't Stop Rock and Roll, and I was writing for the next album, wasn't titled yet, I finally figured it out, like how that would work. And I finished Stay Hungry. So Stay Hungry, I finished We're Not Gonna Take It. So the hook for We're Not Gonna Take It was written in 1980. I finished the song along with all the other songs on the Stay Hungry album in 83 while we were in England recording You Can't Stop Rock and Roll. So I was always writing ahead.
Yeah.
Now, the reason I said that I wish I continued that, because things happened in 84 on the band. The band was already starting to come apart after so many years. It was finally happening for us. And because Mark Mendoza used to be the keeper of the studio, he would be in the studio with the producer every single second. And we were starting to have a falling out, and he stopped. He didn't like the choice of Tom Werman. The record company picked him, and you know, we wanted to please the record company at that point. And he wouldn't show up. So I had to, instead of being in the other room working on the next album, I was in the studio sitting with Tom Werman and Jeff Workman, the engineer, who was amazing, for every single second of Stay Hungry. But the reason I say that's regrettable is because if I wound up writing Come Out and Play after the band had broke, after I had money, sitting poolside in a big house with 5 cars, 2 boats. I was a fat cat, not literally, but and I remember sitting by the pool trying to write the next teen angst anthem. And I'm going, I got nothing. I mean, I remember saying I felt like so content, like I had done it. And if I had stuck to my original pattern, I would have written Come Out and Play while Stay Hungry was being recorded, not released. So we would not even have, we would still be in that very, very hungry place.
Yeah.
And you would have given you a very different follow-up record to Stay Hungry, a more appropriate one. But and I love Come Out and Play, but it certainly was written from a different position than the first 3, which were just that endless struggle that Twisted Sister was always dealing with.
Well, a couple things. I know you know this. I wasn't a Fairweather fan. I was there for all the records, up through Love Is for Suckers, up through everything else you've done in your career. I loved Come Out and Play. I never would have known this had you not, and I've read some interviews in the past with you regarding Come Out and Play. I kind of knew your feelings, but you even expounded on them just now. But to me, I just loved it. And for anybody to cry sell out or you're not my band, I mean, we're not going to take it. I mean, there was songs on Under the Blade, You Can't Stop Rock and Roll that were just as commercial. Ride to Live, Live to Ride, I Am, I'm Me. I mean, these were anthems. Like you said, they were kind of the first takes of We're Not Going to Take It.
I'm really glad you're saying, I appreciate you saying, I should say really glad, I appreciate you saying these things, because it's very confusing to the artist. And certainly I didn't feel like I was disconnected from what I was writing and my messages. It's all about those first 3 albums especially. And to me, it was singing along, anthem, throw your fist in the air and join in. It was always not, I would say every single song, but the majority of stuff, even more thrashy things like Tear It Loose on the first album. I was always, Slade was my inspiration. Sex Pistols were inspiration. I was always, Alice Cooper was inspiration. Yeah, and I was into Sabbath, and I was into Zeppelin. But I was always about. One thing that used to confuse me. I never expected the band to break, but I said, how can a band that's influences are all multi-platinum bands not put out multi-platinum records? It would just seem to make sense. If it's AC/DC, Judas Priest, Alice Cooper, Black Sabbath, these are your bands. Slate, all these bands that sold millions. Well, if you were inspired by all them, why wouldn't your music have that same crossover appeal? And it did ultimately. But there was a time where people looked at us and said, well, you guys are never going to do anything, which I once said about Metallica. Standing when we were touring with them. You probably heard this. I mean, we were on tour in Holland, and I'm watching the band. We were opening for them that night, so I got to watch the show. And I turned to Mendoza, my bass player. I go, this guy's got a lot of heart. Never going to go anywhere. And of course, the words you live to. I'm honest enough to admit it, but I just thought they were so heavy. I couldn't imagine they could break through. And I'm sure people looked at us in 81, 82, 83, and you see these dirt bags wearing, like makeup, and they're going, oh, that's never going to sell. Who's going to buy that?
Yeah, well, the best part about you guys, I mean, this was during the glam era of the 80s, and although you were pulling from the playbook of the New York Dolls and dressing and being androgynous, I mean, you weren't good-looking guys in makeup. Sorry.
Well, that was a crushing realization, So you got this, New York Dolls, influence for sure. The Twisted started as a Dolls. I enjoyed 3 years after the original inception of the band, and and this whole makeup, Bowie, and all these bands that inspired us. And in the earliest days, I mean, I was really, what's the word I'm looking for? I mean, but women's clothing. I mean, I was, pouting and thing. And then, and my wife was like kind of the first one to tell me, you're not pretty. And then I was like, what are you saying? If I suck my, I love Tim Curry's big influence. And then I just started to realize that every photo, a fan, and we had huge following. People have seen the documentary, We Are Twisted Fucking Sister. We had this crazy, tens of thousands of people followed the band in the tri-state area. But every picture they brought, every picture that they blew up and said, oh, I love the show. It was a grimace. It was some scary, intense. I said, that's what they they're not buying me shaking my ass and pouting. Yeah, I got to leave that for Bret Michaels when he comes along. So I realized, okay, be true to yourself. My wife said, you don't wear makeup, Dee, you wear war paint. She goes, I don't care what you do, put a mole on it, lip line, whatever you're doing, it's still paint by numbers. She says, when you put it on, you like make dots on your face and you're connecting the lines and you're paint. He said, even when you put it on, it's like, you're so aggressive. There's nothing feminine. Stop. And then she got me to stuff because she started making clothes for me, and I wanted like really androgynous stuff. So she was making crazy feminine outfits in the early days. And eventually she sort of like got me to realize that's not what you are. You're somebody called me Raggedy Ann on acid once. So it's Road Warriors, it's Mad Max, it's just, someone said Jessica Parker, whatever her name is, Sarah Jessica Parker dipped in acid, someone said. Whatever that is, it ain't pretty, baby. Your Cinderella's ugly, sisters.
Yeah. Well, that's I'm telling you right now. I mean, you had parents all over the world that weren't as offended by the pentagrams on a Slayer or Motley Crue record when they saw you guys. It was like, whoa. And for every person that I knew that loved you, there was someone that hated you, and that's what drew me to you guys. You were that polarizing. You were all over MTV. You'd go to school, I'd be in my Twisted Sister shirt. For every person that said they loved it, there'd be someone that said they hated it. And that's why I loved you.
Yeah. I hate saying the word by design because it sounds calculated. It's not. But it wasn't calculated. It's just I realized I want people to love us or hate us. Don't give me that middle ground. You remember a movie with Madonna, and I'm not a Madonna fan. It was called The Truth or Dare.
Yes, of course.
There's a scene where Kevin Costner comes backstage after the show, and she goes, how'd you like it? He goes, it was cute. And she is mortified. And I totally felt for her. I said, I get it. Like cute. Say anything, say it was awful, but give me a commitment. Don't give me like, yeah, not bad. That never wanted that to be the response. And what you get from that polarizing, performance and stuff like that is you get the people like you, Chris, who love it and those who hate it. But the people who love it, they will stand up for you and defend. And they're so loyal to you. So, we really wanted to create that from the fans. We didn't want to appeal to everybody.
Yeah. Well, we're going to jump into the track here right now. And I just got to say this song, you talked about the Pistols. This song is Rock and Roll Night by Kiss. It's Anarchy in the UK. It's Blitzkrieg Bop from the Ramones. There was a punk attitude here. And I know you guys being from New York, you saw a lot of the punk things, but this song is one of those top 10 rock and roll anthems. School's Out by Cooper. This is in there. And
I definitely have punk influences. If I give my list of 10 albums I would take to Desert Island albums. Nevermind the Bollocks is one of them.
Yeah,
New York Dolls first album is one of them. So those influences there. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you a little secret. So nobody's listening, right? Johnny Rotten was doing one of those singles reviews, and this was 1984, and one of the singles was "We're Not Going to Take It." And he went off. These fucking cunts, they stole our fucking song and ripping off the Pistols. And it was true. I said, no future is such a waste at the end of the song that da da da. And I incorporated it, and We're Not Going to Take It. We won by default because everybody else got F's and D's. We got a C+. So, but Johnny he called me on my shit for sure.
Well, I got to tell you, I've lived this song for most of my life. 11-year-old boy, heard it for the first time. But being able to dive into this and really look at it, I went back and I listened to the original demo, which was 2 minutes and 47 seconds of this song. This track that made it on Stay Hungry is 3 minutes and 38 seconds, about a minute longer. And we'll talk a little bit about that. But for the most part, as you said, the song was the song. The hooks were there. The first 6 seconds of this song is who said there's not a drum hook in rock and roll? This is one of the most iconic drum intros ever. The minute you hear it with that cowbell, you know what song it is.
Let's take a minute just to acknowledge AJ Pirro, the late AJ Pirro, my drummer. And thanks for recognizing that, acknowledging that. AJ was a child prodigy. He trained with Gene Krupa, if you believe that. When he was 10, he was touring the world as with a swing band. I saw a picture of him with an orchestra of adults. And he's on a riser in front of the Eiffel Tower in Paris, 10 years old, little little Anthony Pirro on the drums. So he could play anything. And he was often very frustrated that Twisted Sister limited what he was allowed to do. And I limited what he was allowed to do because I wanted it simple. But I would say, AJ, you know how many people could say that they've written a drum beat that is instantly recognizable by the world and brings smiles to faces? There's a handful. There's American Band. There's Honky Tonk Women, as simple as that is. Little Beginnings.
Yeah.
And I said, and we're not going to take it as one of those beginnings. And I had said, now in high school, because I do voiceover work. My first voiceover gig, I was the announcer for the marching band. Please welcome the 1972-73 Baldwin Senior High School Marching Band. And I used to love going to the football games that they would play the drum cadence as they came out onto the field. I remember the cadence. It was boom da doo 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 doo da doo da doo da doo da doo da doo da doo. I remember love that cadence. So I said to AJ, because we actually, again, tell them a secret.
I love it.
So we were stealing the Quiet Riot had real success with "Come On Feel the Noise," so we said
a Slade cover.
Yeah, Slade. Who influenced my writing the song? But that they started with the drum beat. Come on, feel the noise, girls. Boom, da, 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 whatever it is, and then the chorus. So it was okay. Let's do that same thing. I said, but I said, AJ, I want a drum cadence. Like we're marching into battle here. So AJ was an accomplished drummer, and he said, okay, came back and he said, I got something. What about this? And he just sits down and goes, boom, ba, boom, da, boom, boom, da, boom, boom, ba, boom, ba, boom. Like, oh yes, you just could hear the marching band coming out, and now you'll see marching bands marching out onto a college game, playing We're Not Going to Take It, doing the cadence.
So cool.
It was very much cool by design, and it's instantaneously recognizable.
Well, and talking about Frankie Banali, rest his soul as well, who just passed from Quiet Riot. Basically it was just kick snare, kick snare for Come On Feel the Noise. Yes. And in this instance, it kind of would have worked with this, but having what AJ brought to this is just, like I said, it's iconic. It's a universal. You hear this thing. I've heard it at football games. I hear this song everywhere to this day.
And drummers acknowledge it's. Some people go places and they'll be playing it and they go, no, I'm going, no, that's not it. It's a pretty intricate little, da, doom, da, doom, doom, da. It just has, and drummers will say it's really a cool little cadence he created.
Yeah, it's definitely got a swing to it, and the song. Why not start out with the chorus? It's so catchy, it's undeniable, and it's just, this lyric is just about as rebellious as you can get. We're not going to take it. No, we ain't going to take it. We're not going to take it anymore. That descending guitar riff comes in 2 times. Down, 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 with the drums building. And then we're into verse 1.
We've got the right to choose it. There ain't no way we'll lose it. This is our life. This is our song. We'll fight the powers that be just. Don't pick our destiny, 'cause you don't know us. You don't belong.
I want to talk about the demo a little bit here, Dee. The lyrics for verse 1, as they are. We've got the right to choose, and there ain't no way we'll lose it. This is our life. This is our song. We'll fight the powers that be just. Don't pick our destiny, 'cause you don't know us. You don't belong. Lines 2 and 4, this is our life, this is our song, and you don't know us, you don't belong. They were flip-flopped on the demo. Do you recall that?
Actually, no.
We've got the right to choose it. There ain't no way we'll lose it. You don't know us. You don't belong. We'll fight the powers that be just. Don't pick our destiny, 'cause
but then I'll discover notes or whatever, and I'll laugh because the word like burn in hell. There's just 5 words to say as you go down. And at one point I had just 6 words because I actually had it. You are going to burn in hell. I go, well, that's too literal. So like, you're gonna burn in hell. There's 5 words. So it was just, I don't know, like where those moments come about. I guess JJ is the curator of all things Twisted, my guitar player. So I didn't realize. I know he released a lot of demos and stuff. So so I didn't even know that.
Yeah, well, and this is probably a good time to ask you this. I've probably seen darn near more interviews with you than probably any fan out there. Followed your whole career. I don't recall you ever strapping on a guitar or playing, but you're credited, and I know you've written all these songs lyrically and musically. But did you write these on guitar, or were you humming them to JJ or someone in the band, and then writing the lyrics and the melodies? How did that work?
So I wrote one song in my career on guitar, and it speaks for itself. Destroyer.
Oh, wow. Cool.
But listen to the guitar part. Dun 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 dun. I mean, it was like so infantile. It was effective, but I realized, oh my God, I can't write like I think in my head. So I would sing all the parts. And so, and sometimes they're very simple. Even drum parts I would sing, like, Under the Blade. I would sing it to the guys. By singing it, it allowed me to be much better guitar player, like in Under the Blade again. And I would say, the guys go, what was that? Let's slow it up. I go, and they'd be going, and Burning Hell has another one. These busy riffs, I could do that because I wasn't stuck to a guitar. So I would sing the parts, and then I would sing them to the guys, and then they would play them.
It's amazing you were hearing these orchestrations in your head. Most people have to pick up a guitar. I hear orchestrations in my head. I'm a guitar player that I cannot get to my brain, to my fingertips sometimes, and I lose the idea. That you were able to channel this to your band members and write these full compositions. It's incredible. Not a lot of people can do that, Dee.
It was difficult. I mean, because first of all, I drink so much coffee. I'm always I'm kind of like now, I'm on a cappuccino and 2 black coffees already. So I was once early on, Twisted Sister almost fired me for being too caffeinated. These are guys that were doing hard drugs.
Yeah, right. Right.
I've been in the band for a couple of months, and it's the first band meeting, and I'm like, I'm pretty excited. Band meetings, that was official. A band meeting. Go to JJ's house in Manhattan, the big city. I live in the suburbs. Oh, I'm in JJ French's apartment. He's like the founder of the band. I sit down in his living room. I look and I realize the other 4 guys are all sitting across from me, looking at me. And then I'm like, exactly. That's what I said, ruh-roh. And then he goes, dude, you got to calm down. You got to cut back on the coffee. You're killing us. You're out of your mind. And he used to time my caffeine. He would sit there and go, oh, here he goes. After he'd note when I started drinking the coffee, and he'd go, it's about 20 minutes later, you start going. So, so when I try and sing the songs to the guys, I'd be nervous. Because I was the youngest in the band, and I'd be hyped up, and I'd be like, well, then this part comes up, and they go, whoa, slow it up. What? Slow down. Slower. na na na, slower. Okay, na 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 na. I said, okay, but now speed it up. So it was not the easiest process in the world.
That's crazy. Well, I got to say, this song is based basically around like a 12-bar blues riff. I wish I could write a song this simple and this effective. I think every songwriter in the world, they you always wish. And I don't say that this is simple in a condescending way, but my gosh, it's so simple that it's perfect. And you said it best earlier. You talked about being by that pool writing the follow-up record. You had everything. Now you're trying to write the next teen angst anthem. But, going back to 1980, you were definitely hungry in 80. I mean, Under the Blade hadn't even been released yet. You were still killing yourself out there in the clubs. So, these lyrics, we've got the right to choose. There ain't no way we'll lose it. This is our life. This is our song. I mean, it sounds to me like that's what you were living. These are complete 100% truth.
100%. And you're right. And again, thank you for bringing that out, that it was 1980, the chorus inspiration came to me. Now, 84, 83, I wrote the verses and the lyrics for those verses, but still, I remember writing that part. I'm in a studio apartment. And by the way, again, sounds like a brag, but I'm going to brag anyway. I've always been able to create endlessly. And the problem for me is that it takes, and you well know, you have the idea, but now to demo it, prepare it, finish it out, it's such a long process. And you just get this backlog of things you want to do, and you just can't get them out fast enough. So I learned to just shut it off, because if I'm not by a recorder, I would forget songs that I came up with, like walking down the street. Yeah. And then I would be like so frustrated because I had this good idea and I can't remember it. I'd be so pissed. So the Stay Hungry album, in almost its entirety, with the exception of The Price, was written in 45 minutes in one writing session. And it was like this. So now we're in the balls of our ass. I say balls of our ass. So, we had success with You Can't Stop Rock and Roll, but I'm still in a studio apartment. I'm married. I've got a kid. I'm going to the grocery store, and Jesse's sleeping in the same room with me. We went to the studio. And so I said, okay, this is a good time to do a little writing. So I work with song titles, always song titles. I jotted out a title, and that would inspire the feel of the song, the message of the song, the approach to the song. And I would sit with my list. So she leaves, turn on my tape recorder, and I start going down my list. And in 45 minutes, I put a whole bunch of ideas down, including I Want to Rock, the finishing, We're Not Going to Take It, Burn in Hell. These are all in that 45-minute session. And I remember Suzette came back, said, what'd you do? I said, I did some writing. She said, how'd it go? I said, I think I got some good ideas. And that was that session right there. But
that's incredible.
Those words, I pride myself on having an expanded vocabulary. And the idea that rockers are stupid, that's always resonated with me, because we've chosen this life, we've chosen this music, this approach to things. Somehow we're not as smart as regular people. So in my lyrics, inspired by people like Robert Plant and people like Freddie Mercury, who use just their vocabulary in their songs is insane. Who uses trite, jaded, confiscated? That's a 4-syllable word, dude. I rhymed a 4-syllable word. I'm like Eminem.
I never even thought about it from that standpoint. That's really interesting. You brought that up. You even the word gall you used in the second verse.
So I'm angry, but I'm expressing it to the people that I'm aiming at with intelligence. Is how dare you condescend to me? How dare you look at me the way you look at me? Yeah. How dare you judge me? And by me, it's We're Not Going to Take It, by the way, because I know damn well that I am not the only one that with any kind of intellect or brain or who's being judged because we have this love for rock and roll.
I'm so glad you said that too. I had it in my notes here that it wasn't, I'm not going to take it. It could have been, but it has so much more impact, I feel, with We're Not Going to Take It. It's like, it's all inclusive.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, certainly I wrote I Am on Me, which was very much a personal declaration of independence.
I know the score. I am, and I'll be.
And people like yourself, many people like see that song that was a hit in England. And that song was other people's direct declaration of independence, standing there going, I am a person, you son of a bitch. I'm going to be who I'm going to be. That's what that song was. But on this song, it was very much, about us, all these thousands of kids who were already getting turned on to Twisted Sister, who were believing in the band, and very much, we are collectively not going to take this.
Hey, everybody, whatever you do, don't turn off the podcast. We got lots more with Dee Snider after a few words from our sponsors.
Looking to elevate your music career? DistroKid is a digital music distribution service that enables musicians to distribute their music to online stores and streaming platforms such as Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music, Amazon, Tidal, and many more. DistroKid collects earnings and payments, sending them to you, the artist. With DistroKid, artists unlock a world of possibilities. From easily paying collaborators with splits, to securing your music with DistroLock, DistroKid covers all bases. Plus, you can promote your releases with Hyperfollow and create eye-catching visuals with a Spotify Canvas generator, all for free. But that's not all. Introducing the DistroKid app, now available on iOS and Android. Artists can manage their releases, view streaming stats, and withdraw earnings, all from the palm of their hand. And for those looking to perfect their sound, check out Mixia. With its simple interface and customizable mastering options, artists can make their music sound polished and professional within minutes. And don't forget about Instant Share, DistroKid's newest feature. Share large files securely with collaborators, producers, and more, ensuring your music streams at the highest quality. Ready to take your music to the next level? Download the DistroKid app and explore their suite of tools today. Plus, listeners can enjoy 30% off their first year by visiting distrokid.com/VIP/DeMakes. That's distrokid.com/VIP/DeMakes.
This episode is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like to check the date of the big game first before you accidentally buy tickets on your 20th wedding anniversary and have to spend the next 20 years of your marriage making up for it. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
This is the sound of your ride home with Dad after he caught you vaping. Awkward, isn't it? Most vapes contain seriously addictive levels of nicotine and disappointment. Know the real cost of vapes. Brought to you by the FDA.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon Prime. There's nothing sweeter than baking cookies during the holidays. With Prime, I get all my ingredients delivered right to my door, fast and free, no last-minute store trips needed. And of course, I blast my favorite holiday playlist on Amazon Music. It's the ultimate soundtrack for creating unforgettable memories. From streaming to shopping, it's on Prime. Visit Amazon.com/Prime to get more out of whatever you're into.
For over 50 years, Burlington's legacy has been great deals on coats for all weather conditions. So before you're caught unprepared for the winter weather, head to Burlington for name brands, quality items, and surprising fits for every family member. Stock up on coats, sweaters, and accessories before the cold hits, so you can finally stop avoiding the elements and start living comfortably. Warm up at your nearest Burlington location less than 1 mile away. Burlington. Deals, brands, wow.
Gift the remarkable with Marc Jacobs fragrances this holiday season. From the iconic Daisy and Perfect to the all-new Daisy Wild, Marc Jacobs perfume gift sets include everything she needs to feel special. From her favorite fragrance, plus the matching travel spray, holiday gifts don't get much more perfect than this. So if you're looking for a gift inspiration these holidays, gift the remarkable with Marc Jacobs.
This episode is brought to you by AWS. Amazon Q Business is the new generative AI assistant from AWS. Many tasks can make business slow, Like wading through mud? Help! Luckily, there's a faster, easier, less messy choice. Amazon Q can securely understand your business data to help you streamline tasks, like summarizing quarterly results or doing complex analyses in no time. Q got this. Learn what Amazon Q Business can do for you at aws.com/learn more.
I'm James McComb, reporting live from home in my bathrobe and slippers. Tonight, we're talking Dunkin' Polar Peppermint Coffee. Gene's here with the latest. Gene, do you copy?
The home with Dunkin' is where you want to be.
This week on the After Party podcast, we take a look back at everything that was going on in the world of music, film, TV, and pop culture around the time of September 22nd, 1984, which was when We're Not Gonna Take It peaked at number 21 on the Billboard singles chart. Around this time, when We're Not Gonna Take It is at its peak, it's safe to say that you probably would have been able to see the following movies in the theater because they had been released like a month or two previous. So I would assume that all of these movies you might have been able to see in the theater. It is as follows: The Last Starfighter, The Muppets Take Manhattan, Revenge of the Nerds, Purple Rain, Red Dawn, The Woman in Red, Star Trek III: The Search for Spock, Ghostbusters, Gremlins. Ghostbusters and Gremlins were both released on the same day, June 8th of 1984. The Karate Kid and Conan the Destroyer were all in the theaters around this time.
That's insane. Was Raiders of the Lost Ark in 84?
I didn't have that on my list, but okay. I was just going by like what may have still been in the theaters. So if that was earlier,
I saw most of those movies, and I think I saw most of them in the theater.
Nice.
Either that or on VHS, because of course we didn't have Blockbuster, but we had Southern Video in Port Charlotte. Let me tell you,
where I was at, we had Top 40 Video and Dee's Video. And it was those video stores where the one Dee's had a back room, and
it had the pearls hanging down, so you couldn't see what was in there.
But dude, Top 40 Video, M&S, all the porno movies, they were just up on the top shelf. So you could see the sides of the boxes. Like you could see very graphic sexual pictures if you just looked up, which was very strange. It was a small store. So
different times.
Yeah, for sure. And Chris, one more thing I wanted to say is about a month later, October 26th of 1984, The Terminator was released. The first one. If you want to hear the rest of this episode of The After Party, plus you want to hear an entire giant back catalog of episodes of the After Party podcast, just head over to ChrisDeMakes.com and sign up for our supporting cast. Not only will you get all these episodes, but you'll also be supporting the podcast that you love. And now, back to Chris's conversation with the legendary Dee Snider.
Well, after verse 1, you're immediately thrown into the first chorus.
We're not gonna take it.
48 seconds, happens quick. Chorus 1, same as the intro. We're not going to take it. No, we ain't going to take it. We're not going to take it anymore. Of course, you got the unison backing vocals that come here. I think another pair of stereo guitars come in here. The whole chorus lifts up. At the end of the chorus, you got that descending riff. It only happens one time. And you're right back into verse 2. Oh, you're so condescending. There's your big word, D. One of your big words. Your gall. Your gall. I think there's another song I think of that has the word gall in it. G-A-L. Your gall is never ending. We don't want nothing. Not a thing from you.
I go back and forth between the intellectual and the guttural. I was watching.
Yeah.
There was this funny thing for The Voice where who are the people? Adam, what's his name? Okay, give me the names. I don't know their names flat out, so you have to help me. But Adam from Maroon 5, who, by the way, he confessed to me that it was singing "I Want to Rock" at a camp talent show, and everybody was wowed. That made him say, "Oh, maybe I could be a singer." So it was "I Want to Rock" that got him up. And then Blake, what was the guy, the country? Blake Shelton. There's a video of them riding in the car singing "We're Not Going to Take It," and they're and talking about it. And they go, look, it's so cool because he says, "We're not going to take it. No, we ain't going to take it." And he's like being bad. He's using the slang to drive it home. Yeah. But there is that juxtaposition. There's a word again of the very proper grammatical confiscated, but then say ain't nothing from you. That we're street at the same time. So nobody's ever done this heavy analysis on it before, but I didn't either. No, this was just coming out of me, so I'm not really thinking about it. But if I analyze it, I realize it's really that duality that I was living.
Gosh, it really is. You think of, how many parents hated "I can't get no satisfaction"? That pissed off parents from here to Berlin and to Tokyo. Yeah. And that's the same thing we're talking here. You're highbrow in one sense. Oh, you're so condescending. Your gall's never ending. And then you're taking it to, like you said, to the street. Like, we don't want nothing, not a thing from you. Your life is trite and jaded, boring and confiscated. If that's your best, your best won't do.
Now that's a really I really was proud of that line because I love shoving it down people's throats intelligently because it was really observational. So like you're just shitting all over us, and that's all you got. I was like, you just punched me in the face, and when in those movies the guy goes, "That's it," And really, yet it was phrased in a very, I think, a very intelligent way. If that's your best won't do, sir. It was, be gone with you, off with you, sir. Your best did not do. You have failed in your mission.
Well, here's a question for you, Dee. Are we now at bridge 1, or is this pre-chorus 1? This part happens twice, and this is where the arrangement in this song doesn't follow a traditional arrangement. That's the other thing that I love about this. There's a guitar climb here. It goes E to F, F sharp to B, and that climb happens with right before it's whoa, whoa. That happens twice, and then we're right, yeah, we're free, yeah, we'll fight, yeah, you'll see, and this big yeah at the end. All the yeahs are gang vocals. Last one, there's some crowd cheering with claps and whistles. Was that your idea? Was that something Tom Werman thought of? How'd that come about?
I don't think Tom Werman thought of anything, and as his, he gets very upset when I never acknowledge his rebuttals, just to drive him nuts. But
I've noticed.
Never. I'm not even going to like he doesn't exist. But no, he as he said to us day one, I don't write, I don't create, I don't touch the board. I'll just tell you if I like it or not. So it definitely wasn't his idea. And I think it's just how I heard it in my head, you talked about the unique structure of the song. I got to use another. So Penn Jillette, who we became very good friends, sitting in the back of 2 seasons of a van during Celebrity Apprentice and Celebrity Apprentice All Stars. And he said, I love and he used a poetic term to explain the lyric with the hanging word at the end, where we go, we want the fires that be just, don't pick our destiny cause. Well, apparently that's actually some sort of explained, has a word for it, where you put the word and it hangs over. And he said, I love the way you use that pentagram, because he's so intellectual. I was like, what are you talking about? He goes, when you let the word hang over, like, oh, is that what it is? Because so it was not thought like that. It just came out, and that's the way it went. So
no, and I'm glad you brought that up, because that's really interesting. And there's a rhyme scheme there, just and cause. Even though it's not a hard rhyme. I call it a soft rhyme. They play off each other, and I didn't know there was a word for that. But that's really
apparently
interesting.
There is. But yeah, so I said, so which came first, my song or that word? But apparently it's existed. It's a poetic, it's something in literature, a way of writing.
That's awesome. Well, I still don't know if the part we just talked about is a pre-chorus or a bridge. I'm kind of leaning pre-chorus 1, which wasn't there the first time. There's no pre-chorus, and now we're into chorus 2. This is a double chorus. We're not going to take it. No, we ain't going to take it. We're not going to take it anymore. We're not going to take it. No, we ain't going to take it. We're not going to take it anymore. The descending riff comes in one time, and then there's a quick no way from that you let out there, Dee. You say no way, and then something that wasn't on the demo, the guitar solo comes in over the same exact riff, 12-bar blues chords. The guitar solo for the first half, it's loosely mimicking the melody line. The second half, the dual guitar, the harmony guitar, comes in the second half. No way! You know, you could have put a wanky 80s guitar solo there with a million notes, but it didn't have to be. It was perfect with this. Was this the idea from the get-go?
You know, credit to Eddie Ojeda on that. So, you know, backing up to it is a pre-chorus. It's not a bridge. It is a pre-chorus. And I guess, you know, how long did you say the song was?
It's 3 minutes and 38 seconds.
That's like the classic single length. And we were conscious at that point of creating, you know, singles, you know, even though I never thought we'd have a hit, it still was, it was about punch, 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 hammer, get the hell out of there. So now, before I get to the solo, I'll just say that why there's that short version, I would write so many songs, usually like 25 songs or more for a record. So rather than fully flesh out and develop all those songs, I would just show people a basic song, and we would do a quick verse, chorus. Maybe if there was sometimes I didn't have a bridge idea at the time, but if I had one, that got thrown down on the tape. And then we would take that demo tape, like the demo you heard, the whole band would listen to it. We'd give it to the road crew, maybe management as well, sometimes a producer if they were involved at that point, and say, okay, we have 25 songs. Which of the 10 do you like? And then everybody would vote for their 10, and whatever got the most votes it was very democratic up until Come Out and Play. And at that point, I started wielding my total control, which I shouldn't have done. I should have kept it diplomatic, honestly. Anyway, and so we say, okay, these are the 10. So that's why there's that short abridged version. Now, Eddie Ojeda, to his credit, he chosen to do the solo. I would say, okay, you do the solo on this one, judging by their talents or what I thought was applicable, and also making sure that they were evenly split between JJ and Eddie. So Eddie has a solo on this one, and I wasn't there. I don't know if Tom Werman influenced. Maybe he did, or Eddie, because Eddie was always about melodic solos. But I came in, and I was surprised actually. Oh, they just mimicked the chorus, which is very interesting because when I finally figured out how to write the verse, I told you I sat with it for 3 years. The verse is actually a variation on the chorus.
Sure.
It's a melodic variant of the chorus. And I learned that, I'll tell a family secret, from Def Leppard. So I was listening to Pyromania or whatever, because they had all these hits. And again, the idea of wanting to write a hit. Just saw the Aretha Franklin movie. Did you see that movie that they've got on Aretha Franklin?
I haven't seen that yet, no.
And she had like 5 albums out, and all she kept saying was, I want a hit. I want a hit. You know, I have 5 albums and everybody's giving great reviews. I want a hit record. So I studied the Pyromania record, and the way that, and I'll say the band, structured the songs. And I said, oh, they're using the choruses, which are very big and melodic, as a sort of, they're echoing it with the verse sometimes. So it gave me an idea to do a variant. So now you've got the chorus followed by a variation on the chorus, followed by a guitar solo that is the chorus. So it's very repetitive, but fortunately the chorus is good.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, and this is a song that the chorus is just so hit you over the head, but the verses in this one, they do hark to the chorus, as you said. And I had that written down, that these verses, when you see live videos of you guys, it's like people aren't just singing the refrain, the hook of the chorus. They're singing every damn word to this thing because it's so anthemic.
And credit to, again, I studied Slade. I'm a huge Slade fan. And they would not be We're Not Gonna Take It if not for Slade. I'm sure there's other influences here and there, but Slade, if you listen to, and people go, who's Slade? Well, they wrote
Naughty Holder,
Mama Roll Crazy Now. They wrote Come Out Illinois, but they were notorious for a verse that was a hook, a bridge that was a hook, and a chorus that was a hook. Like every part of the song. I don't know if you know the song "Goodbye to Jane."
Goodbye to Jane, goodbye to Jane, painted up like a fancy young man. She's a queen, can't you see what I mean? She's a queen, see, she's a queen, and I know she's alright.
Oh, of course.
Every song, goodbye to Jane, she's a dog called, see how she ran. That was the verse, and it was like, and it repeated. And then, she's a queen, can you see what I mean? She's a queen, she's a queen, hook. And I know she's all right. It was like, hook, I say you're so young, hook. It was like, hook. And I was like, okay, remember this. Awesome. This is how you write a catchy song. Every part should be should be able to sing to it, sing along.
Well, you hit a home run with that exact template, because this song, every part is perfect. We get out of chorus 2, we're back into what I'm going to call a pre-chorus. I agree with you there. We're right, yeah. We're free, yeah. We'll fight, yeah. You'll see, yeah. The crowd cheering comes back again there, that sample. We're into chorus 3. This is now a quadruple chorus to take us out. But the start of chorus 3 basically goes back to the intro. There's that drum hook again. It comes back to that, and it comes to just your vocal. It takes it personal. It kind of reels it in there, because the band's coming in after we're not going to take it. No, we ain't going to take it. We're not going to take it anymore. And the band comes back in there, and you're just... You're feeling it by that point. The lyric from there is, we're not going to take it. And you say, no, we ain't going to take it. We're not going to take it anymore. And you say, just you try and make us. Second half, which is now the third of 4 with chorus 3, we're not going to take it. Come on. And this is where the song starts to slowly fade. No, we ain't going to take it. You're all worthless and weak. We're not going to take it anymore. Now drop and give me 20, Dee is saying on the responses here. We're not going to take it. And you say, a pledge pin? No, we ain't going to take it. On your uniform? And then the last thing you hear is, we're not going to take it anymore. And of course, there's some movie references that we get here at the end.
Yeah, Animal House. So, I mean, the song is as angry as it is, and as in your face, and me shaking the fist, like menacing as a song could be, it's still fun, And it was
so
like a
fun.
party. And so we're at the end with this huge, and we're doing the gang vocals, and we're all in there, and we're singing, we're laughing, we're having a good time. And I was a big Animal House fan, and I just start goofing around and doing the Animal House, is that a pledge pin? And all that stuff.
What's that on your chest, mister?
It's a pledge pin, sir.
A pledge pin on your uniform! Just tell me, mister, what fraternity would pledge a man like you?
It's a Delta pin, sir.
You'll report to the stable tonight and every night at 1900 hours. And without that pledge pin, you're all worthless and weak. Drop and give me 20.
So, and I had fun with it. Well, then you cut to the We're Not Gonna Take It video, which was my idea, and then Marty Callner and I fleshed it out. Marty Callner, the director, it was the first rock video he did, was that We're Not Gonna Take It. He did tons of others. And so he was confident enough in himself and egoless enough to recognize that this kid had this great original idea for a rock video. He said, hey, man, sit with me. Let's write this together. Let's work on this together. Let's do it all together, side by side. So he allowed me to sit with him. So he said, so who do you see as the father? I said, well, it's based on my dad. And I said, there's this actor, I didn't even know his name. I said, in the movie Animal House, he plays Niedermeyer. I said, and if we can get someone like that, I said, and he goes, why don't we get him? What is he doing?
Yeah.
Working on a cure for cancer? So I was like, to me, he was a huge star, but for $1,000 and a plane ticket, we had him out in California. I remember they were like, I'm going to send a PA to go pick him up at the airport. I'm like, no way, I'm picking him up at LAX. So I was like so excited, and I was I'm out there, like walking around the baggage carousel, at LAX. And I'm looking for, and all of a sudden I hear, you looking for me, mister? In that Niedermeyer! I'm like, oh, I'm so excited. So now I'm writing, we're writing the dialogue for the father in this opening scene. So now I have Niedermeyer. So I start going into totally derivative Animal House. And my brothers are big Animal House fans. This is great. So now I've got Niedermeyer paraphrasing Animal House lines at the kid and the whole thing. So it just continued from the record, and it just wound up being in the video.
All right, mister, what do you think you're doing? You call this a room? This is a pigsty. I want you to straighten up this area now. You are a disgusting slob. Stand up straight. Tuck in that shirt. Adjust that belt buckle. Tie those shoes. Twisted Sister. What is that? Wipe that smile off your face. Do you understand? What is that? A Twisted Sister pin on your uniform? What kind of a man are you? You're worthless and weak. You do nothing. You are nothing. You sit in here all day and play that sick, repulsive, electric twanger. I carried an M16 and you carry that guitar. Who are you? Where do you come from? Are you listening to me? What do you want to do with your life?
I want to rock.
If we didn't cast Niedermeyer, I never would have done that. Mark Metcalf, his name is, by the way. We're still friendly. Mark Metcalf. If we hadn't cast him, we would never have done that dialogue the way we did. And he was participating. And he was like, I carried an M16, and you carry that guitar. I mean, that was Mark Metcalf just riffing. Like, yes! What? And a lot of that dialogue also with my dad, the most famous line, what do you want to do with your life, is what my father used to scream at me all the time. That was my dad. And I told Metcalf that. He goes, okay, I'm using that. What do you want to do with your life?
Well, I think everything you just said, I got to, as you can see, a smile from ear, a grin from ear to ear. It's fun. That's why this song is fun. It's angsty, it's rebellious, but all those little things, you know, the ad-libbing of you at the end, him ad-libbing and riffing, Niedermeyer during the video. You know, I got to ask you here, Dee, at this point, you're getting the mixes back from the record. Was there any chatter at Atlantic from the label? Did anybody in the band, did you know what? I think I have my first hit here.
You know, if anything, there was confusion. Atlantic Records, Doug Morris, president of Atlantic, Atlantic Records had rejected us 5 times. And he even reached out and rejected us at Atco, who wanted to sign us. He overrode. He did not get the band. We were finally signed by Phil Carson, who's now my manager, the president of Atlantic Records Europe. And when he saw us in England and called to the States and told them that he was signing Twisted Sister, Doug Morris was livid. And his exact words were, "It's on your head, Phil." And Phil said, "You mean like ABBA, Genesis?" Yes. Who else had he signed? AC/DC? He said, Phil has sold over 375 million records with his signings. ABBA was his first signing. He goes like, "They're on my head." So he stood, and I say he's my manager, one of my closest friends to this day. I don't have a lot of business friends, but Phil, he stood up for us. So when the record was coming out, I remember we were getting ready to do the video, and there was this insane confusion at the record label as to what the single should be, what the first track should be. And I knew it was We're Not Gonna Take It. But the fact that the record company came back and said they wanted to lead with Burn in Hell. And I was like, now Burn in Hell is a great song. It's become one of the biggest Twisted songs from that record. And, but it was not the lead track for the Stay Hungry album when you were sitting with We're Not Gonna Take It and I Want to Rock, in your gun, so to speak, loaded up. And so the record company was all over the place. So I felt like they just were not understanding it. I was not getting, the band may have been enthusiastic. Oh, and understand, Tom Werman didn't want to put it on the record.
You know what's crazy about what you're saying is that a lot of times this could be looked at 2 ways, that everyone's head is just all over the place and scattered, which that's a bad thing, or that's a good thing because there's so much depth to this record. We don't know what song to pick. You're kind of in a quandary.
Maybe that's it. But Tom Werman didn't want We're Not Gonna Take It and didn't want I Want to Rock.
What?
I remember he was sitting in a chair in the rehearsal studio, and he has tried to defend this, but even in his defenses, he has reinforced what I said. So he's in a chair. I am on one knee because I want to be ear to ear with him. I'm like, "Tom, we're not going to take it. I Want to Rock. It got to be on." He goes, "We're not going to take it." He goes, "Nah, nah, 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 nah." He goes, "It's just so childish." I go, "Tom, it's going to be edgier. It's going to be more aggressive." And he goes, and when he goes, he said, "I Want to Rock." He says, I produced Molly Hatchet. Dun, 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 dun. I've done that already. Dun, dun, dun. I'm going, "Tom," I said, and there's another thing I said, if I can write a song that's got the hook of a Slade song with the drive of an Iron Maiden song, that's what I was doing. I was doing Iron Maiden with that riff,
Yeah, kind of a gallop.
That was the Iron Maiden gallop. But he said, "It's like Molly Hatchet." I go, "It's not Molly Hatchet." And I said, "Tom, these songs are important." He goes, "All right, you want them on the record? Fine. I don't care. So whatever, if you want them on the record, fine." He just sort of gave in, but he didn't see one record. You know, he got 8 points on that album. It sold, maybe 10 million copies. He's bought a house with that record. Anyway, so I'm getting these are the signals I'm getting from my producer. Tom Werman brought in Saxon songs for us to consider from Long Arm of the Law.
Yes, I remember that.
I'm like, "This is Saxon." He goes, "Yeah." I said, "We toured with them." He goes, "They're very good." I go, "We can't play Saxon." He was bringing us Saxon songs, not new ones either. The stuff that was all our fans knew. I go, "We can't do Saxon." He goes, "Okay, I think you're making a mistake." So he didn't get it. Record labels giving all missed signals, and I'm pulling my hair out. Luckily, I had a lot. And Marty Callner, again, was still one of the few business people I'm friends with, buddies for life, me and Marty. He says, what's the matter? I said, nobody's understanding what the lead track should be. The record companies, now they're talking about burning hell. They're not getting it. So he said, what's the lead track? I said, we're not going to take it. He said, let me handle this. So this is the old days, people. The only thing older than this is smoke signals. He sends a telegram. To Doug Morris, who, by the way, takes credit for picking We're Not Going to Take It to this day as the lead track. Telegram said, hard at work on video for We're Not Going to Take It. Stop. This is going to be a smash. Stop. Marty Callner. The word is from the inside. The telegram was brought into Doug Morris, and moments later, Doug Morris came out and announced the single is We're Not Going to Take It. And the motivation for that was simply money was being spent already. Marty implied that money was being spent on the video, so decision had been made. So he said, we're not going to take it. And to this day, he says that was his thought and his idea. That was me telling Marty Callner telegramming Doug Morris, and Doug Morris going, oh shit, okay, we can't throw money away. Okay, yeah, we're not going to take it. So I didn't have the feeling that, I knew it was, and I think the band did, but I did not get the feeling from that any other people understood the significance of this song.
That's amazing. And as I've always said, the artist usually knows best, but the label likes to take credit, as you know. Yeah. and history likes to seem to rewrite itself. But, I want to fast forward now in honor of Christmas only being 5 days away. In 2006, October to be exact, you guys released a record called A Twisted Christmas with such Christmas, your take on Christmas songs as Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, Silver Bells, and I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus. And this song, Oh Come All Ye Faithful, which basically We're Not Going to Take It was kind of a rewrite of that standard. And it's amazing when I went and listened to this track. The video's hilarious, by the way. The video is awesome. But it starts with that hook, that drum hook with AJ, and you come in with the Oh Come All Ye Faithful.
There's a lot to be said about this, and that's what this episode of your show is about, this song in particular. Going back to something you said earlier about it being a 4-bar blues, it is, but it's with some adjustments. And I saw an interview with Elton John, and he was talking about his songwriting. He said that his biggest songs have been based on hymnal patterns, hymns. And he says he thinks that the hymn pattern behind them is an immediate familiarity to the listener. It's subconscious, but it's something, well, and this goes for Christians, by the way, that I grew up in, going to church every Sunday, but those, da, 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 those, there's a warmth, there's a comfort, it resonates. Then you have the song, his original song on top of it. So We're Not Going to Take It. 15 years after it comes out, I'm in a van on a Widowmaker tour with Al Petrelli late one night. The other guys are asleep in the van, and Al's driving, and we're talking about songs that borrowed from other songs. And so, we're talking about My Sweet Lord, and She's So Fine, and there's a whole bunch of them. And he goes, and of course, We're Not Going to Take It. Oh, Come All You Faithful. I went, what? He goes, We're Not Going to Take It. It's Oh, Come All You Faithful. I said, what are you talking about? He goes, you don't know that? And then he goes, We're not going to take it. Oh, come all ye faithful. I said, holy shit. I remember looking up and going, looking up, all those Sundays singing in the church choir, all those, We're Not Going to Take It. That said, so it comes to the Christmas album, and I'll talk specifically about Oh, Come All Ye Faithful. And I said, it'll be pretty funny if we do We're Not Going to Take It with Oh, Come All Ye Faithful on top of it. And that would be pretty funny. So we tried doing it and it didn't fit. So we were figuring out how do you fit it in there? And the late AJ Pirro, I told you he was a musician and he was very talented. He sorted it out. If you listen to "O Come All You Faithful," if you do the structural "O Come All You Faithful," we're not going to take it "O Come All You Faithful." It's not it's just melodies, but we jammed the pieces, and we had to adjust a couple of things. Recently, there's a Mariah Carey. Have you seen that one? The jam of "We're Not Going to Take It" and her Christmas song.
We'll fight the powers that be just. Don't pick on destiny, cause you don't know us, you don't belong.
They really said I had to do some adjustments. But anyway, it was AJ Pirro figured out how to shoehorn it. And that's what it was. And it works in the effect that you go, oh, yes, that's funny. We're not going to take it. "Oh, Come All You Faithful." But they're not quite like this. JJ has said, oh, yeah, it was amazing how this laid on top of each other. JJ, I love you. Like a brother. I adore you. We're buddies for life. JJ wasn't even in the room. He never hung out for arrangements and things like that. It was me, Eddie, and AJ arranging all these songs. So he walked in and it was done. He goes, "Oh my God, it's amazing how this lays in there." And we're like, yeah, we just sat here for 2 hours figuring that out. But the point is made, and I'm grateful that I got a song, a public domain song that inspired me to write the biggest hit of my career and a folk song for all. That song is going to live long past me. It'll be around for a long time. It's already become. It's already transcended the genre and become more.
Yeah, no, it's great. And again, I saved your episode for right before Christmas because I wanted to tie in "O Come All You Faithful" with "We're Not Going to Take It." I thought it was a cool story to end here. A couple more things before we break. Dee, you've done 5 solo records. The first being in 2000 with "Never Let the Bastards Wear You Down." Your last two, 2018's "For the Love of Metal" and this year 2021's "Leave a Scar," both produced by Jamie Josta from Hatebreed. The records sound amazing and. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, it's sort of, bouncing around, trying to figure out the things I want to do. Never Let the Bastards Wear You Down, they call it my first. And, and in fairness, in honesty, more than fairness, I was approached to do a record. I said, I'm not doing a record. They said, well, do you have any old songs? I'm like, yeah, but they made me an offer I couldn't refuse. So I dug out these outtake songs from Twisted, from Desperado, from Widowmaker that I like. Remember, I tell you, the Desperado album, Bernie Tormé and I had written about 100 songs for the Desperado album. That never came out.
That record's great, by the way.
Thank you. Till years later, but it was shelved by Elektra. But so it was so many outtakes. And so Never Let the Bastards Wear You Down was like, all right, I'll take the money. Went in. I didn't, I wish I'd put more time into it. Anyway, that's what that record was. Then I sort of thought, I'm not going to record anymore. And then I was on Broadway with Rock of Ages. And I'd been in theater in high school. And my parents used to take me to shows when I was a kid. And I always had a love for theater and musicals. And I always thought that a lot of musical songs really rocked. So I said, I'm going to do a cover album and rock these songs out. And my manager Phil said, who's going to buy it? I said, probably nobody. I said, this is really self-indulgent. And and really, you got great critical reviews, but it was not for everybody. It was a weird experiment, but I knew what I was doing going in. The next album, We Are the Ones, which has some great moments on it. I really, again, said, I'm done recording. And then I was approached by a pop producer who said, I think you could do a great mainstream rock album. And I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot. And the record was great, but it didn't resonate with anybody. It wasn't, it wasn't right. And then I said, okay, I'm done. And then Jamie Josta challenges me on his podcast. I'm like a sucker for a challenge. So if you got any ideas or anything, it's like truth or dare. I can't resist the challenge. So Josta says, I challenge you to do a real metal record. I said, Jamie, I would love to do a real metal record. I love metal. I'm an OG metalhead. My kids have kept me so in touch with what's going on. I go to shows. I just don't know how to where I belong. He goes, I know where. And I said, well, let's do it. And the first, and For the Love of Metal was out of our own pockets, just went in and people poured out of, Mark, just so many people came from different bands and contributed and wrote and played. It was touching, actually, to see like people like yourself, like the love that it was there for me. And, and I was kind of feeling like, my time had passed. And here they were saying, oh, no. And Jamie said, dude, your voice, that's why I'm calling you here. I've seen you live. You're roaring. He says, you roar. So I said, let's do it. So that record came out, went into the top 20, number one metal album on the metal charts for months. And it did amazing and sort of reconnected me where I wanted to be. So then I said, oh, I'm done. And then COVID hit, and I was like, you know what? I felt like Ice Cube. Hey, Dre, what, Cube? I got something to say. So it was, hey, Jamie, what, D? I got something to say. So we did Leave a Scar, and that went number 19 on the Billboard charts and was number one metal album for a while. So I'm really proud of these records. I don't know when I'll stop. Right now, for each record, I feel like, hey, that's it. I made my statement. And then something makes me a challenge or something makes me come out and do more.
Well, I got to tell you, you're one of the few guys from back in the day that can still bring it, not only as a performer live, but your voice. You sound the same, man. I don't know when you made that deal with the devil, but you sound the same, and you look great, and that's why Jamie, I think, wanted to work with you. You haven't lost anything.
Well, it's incredibly high praise, and we all know what we look like with our clothes off in the mirror. So, I know that 4 years ago, Twisted retired, I was rocking a 6-pack, going out shirtless, and people going, what the fuck? I ain't taking my shirt off. Now, as I said in one of the last shows, I want a carb. I said, I'm going to re-record I Want to Rock for I Want a Carb. I want to eat a damn muffin. I want a pancake. Okay? I'm 62. I'm 62 at that point. I'm going, I want to eat something. So I've been eating. People, I'm not starving anymore. You
deserve it. And anything you'd like to leave the listeners with, anything we didn't touch on, anything you got coming up that you'd like to let them know?
I'm always, to me, it's about the next challenge. And the past is great. And, I love reminiscing, and I love going out and doing a show or whatever. And, people make me offers I can't refuse. I'll go out there and, play all the oldies. But to me, I'd much rather show you the new idea I'm working on, the thing that sold nothing. I just wrote a novel, and I'm trying to find my first, fictional novel. I'm trying to find a home for that. I'm focused on that. I'm going to be directing my first movie. So that I'm like really excited about that because it's new, it's challenging, exciting. And when I did Leave a Scar, when I did new records, even doing the pop album or the mainstream rock album or the Broadway record, here's things I never imagined doing. Matter of fact, I might have punched you in the face for suggesting it 40 years ago. Like you said that, you know what, Celine, you're going to write a Christmas song and Celine Dion's going to record it. Take it back, man. Take on metal. And there's something that a lot of people don't know is in the 90s. No, it was late 90s. I guess it was late 80s, very early 90s. My wife asked me to write her a Christmas song, and I wrote a Christmas song for her. I couldn't even sing it. I hired some people, recorded it. Merry Christmas. That was it. And the engineer on the session wound up working with Celine Dion, and she was looking for material. And he said, listen to this. And he plays her my wife's Christmas song, and Celine wants to record it. And I get a phone call. And now, mind you, this is early 90s, and I am in the doldrums of my career. I've all the millions I made, I've spent. And phone rings, and are you sitting down? Yeah, why? Celine Dion wants to record God Bless Us Everyone. That was the original title. And I was like, first thing I said is, does she know who wrote it? And this is like 92. And he goes, no, we haven't told her yet. I said, do not tell her Satan wrote a Christmas song. Just put it on the damn record. He goes, well, there's one other caveat. She wants to change the name to The Magic of Christmas, parentheses, God Bless Us Everyone. Because there's a line in the song, this is the magic of Christmas Day. And I said, I don't care if she calls it, this song is a pile of dog shit. Just put it on the album. And so that album, These Are Special Times, is the biggest selling holiday record in history. It's like 14 or 15 million copies now. And with my wife's Christmas song on there.
It's we're counting the days.
So it's infiltrated so many households are listening to a Dee Snider penned Christmas song, but it was never a rock song. Last year, I recorded a rock version with Lizzie Hale. I just decided I wanted to do my own version of it after all these years. And also, the ugliness of these past few years politically and whatever, the magic, it's just, the song itself is just about that time of year where everybody just seems like they get along for a few minutes. Or maybe it's just an illusion of saying, hey, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to you. And everybody seems like get along until the knives are pulled out. But, and I said, I think it's a good time for me to record this song. So I did it. But anyways, that is I wrote a Christmas song. So there's that. So it's the holiday season, people. And I wrote a Christmas musical, which is called The Rock and Roll Christmas Tale. I staged it in Chicago and Toronto. By the time we got the second year, we got it down. Toronto had great reviews, but unfortunately, a lot of money had been put into it, and the investors couldn't afford to keep it going. So I'm hoping to resurrect that sometime. So I'm kind of a Christmas. Oh, and I've got here's another one for you. Just about Christmas. I love Christmas. The Stupid Buddies. Stupid Buddies, they do Robot Chicken.
Oh, yeah.
We're developing right now a heavy metal Christmas story, which is sort of taken the story in the We're Not Gonna Take It video and blown it into a stop motion animation Christmas special. So it's kind of that father-son dynamic, the kid who's dreaming about being a rock star, and my dynamic with my father, which is what that was based on. And we're right now in the process of writing, creating. We've been working for a couple of years on it now, a holiday special, which I hope you'll be seeing in a couple of years, because that would be kind of nice.
That's awesome, man. Well, your bandmates were right all those years ago. You're still on 11 at all times, caffeine or not. Caffeine or not.
Tell this guy to cut the caffeine. He's out of his mind.
It's awesome, man. You're still inspiring me after all these years. I appreciate it, and thank you for sitting in with us today.
Chris, great to talk to you. Thanks for inviting me. Thanks for the this is the first. I haven't hyper analyze this song. I don't know if I was supposed to, but I don't know if I think there's something. I mean, you're not necessarily like it connects, it doesn't connect, but it's interesting to this kind of analysis. And you've always been such an open, honest supporter of mine and unapologetic. I am that. So I am one of those guys. I'm people that I hate that guy. I love that guy. And sometimes So I appreciate that you're one of those, like Sebastian Bach, another guy who just stands tall. Dee Snider, as a Dee fan. I appreciate you, and I thank you for that.
Hey, everybody, don't touch that dial. There's plenty more Chris DeMakes A Podcast after a few words from our sponsors.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. The holidays mean more travel, more shopping, more time online, and more personal info in places that could expose you to identity theft. That's why LifeLock monitors millions of data points every second. If your identity is stolen, their US-based restoration specialists will fix it, guaranteed or your money back. Get more holiday fun and less holiday worry with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Behind the delivery trucks that keep your life stocked, thousands of employees at BP go to work every day. People bringing a new offshore production platform online. People making our refineries capable of more, like making renewable diesel from agricultural waste. People trading and shipping fuels to our customers. And people helping truckers fill up and get maintenance at our convenient locations. They're part of the more than 300,000 jobs BP supports across the country. Learn more at bp.com/investing in America.
Time to move? Skip the hassles of selling during the holiday season and sell your home directly to Opendoor. Request an all-cash offer in minutes, close, and get paid in days. You can even pick your close date so you can move after New Year's. Start your move at Opendoor.com or download the Opendoor app. Open Door is represented by Open Door Brokerage Inc., license 02061130 in California, and Open Door Brokerage LLC in its other markets. Terms and conditions apply.
Screwball peanut butter whiskey? Why the hell not? A little salty, a little sweet, a little savory, and always smooth. Screwball, the original peanut butter whiskey that's unexpectedly delicious. Visit screwballwhiskey.com to learn more. That's Screwball with a K. Enjoy responsibly. Copyright 2023 Screwball Spirits, LLC, New York, New York.
Each week on the One Hit Thunder podcast, we welcome a special guest to come take a deep dive into a one-hit wonder artist with us. And together, we decide if that artist brought the one-hit thunder or was nothing more than a one-hit blunder. You can find One Hit Thunder anywhere that you listen to podcasts, so hit that subscribe button and join in on the fun each week.
As we near the end of the show, here's a band you might not know.
Welcome to this week's Band You Might Not Know. If you'd like your band to be considered for Chris DeMakes A Podcast, all you have to do is email your song via MP3 only and bio to bandyoumightnotknow@gmail.com. This week's featured artist is High Gin, a punk rock band from Brescia, Italy. The band consists of lead vocalist and guitarist James Paul Torini, bassist and backing vocalist Fabio Lantra Zaniletti, and drummer Francesco Pedersini. Here's a snippet of their song, So Much.
The Wrap with Chris and Chris.
Well, man, I wish that all the listeners could have seen your face that entire time, because I could really tell that you were talking to a childhood idol of yours. That was awesome, man.
Yeah, man. He from the moment I started playing music, the first time I ever played with Less Than Jake, I was fearless, in part because of Dee Snider. He was one of those frontmen that just, I emulated him. I was like, you got to take the audience head on, which he did, and he's one of my influences. And anytime I've ever met him, it's been awesome. The first time I ever met him was back in 1998, Capitol Records. Set up an interview with Details magazine. Dee's first movie, Strangeland, was coming out. They flew me into LA, went to the Sunset Marquis Hotel, went up to Dee's room. I'm shaking as I knock on the door. He answers, and we start talking. I interviewed him for the movie, and met him probably 3 or 4 times since. And the last time I met him was your hometown, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I was coming back from a Less Than Jake. Actually, it was Anti-Fest back in 2019. Or no, excuse me, 2018, August of 2018. And I'm walking through the airport looking for my gate, and I look over and I'm like, there's Dee Snider, Went over and talked to him. But yeah, today was kind of a dream come true.
The energy that comes out of that guy is amazing. I mean, he even talked about his own energy and how his own band had to be like, dude, will you settle down a little bit? But, from the stage to even now in a podcast episode, that's pretty inspiring to me. I try to be an energetic person too. I'm not on Dee's level quite yet, but very inspiring.
No, he's unreal. His energy has always been like that. And I wanted to give the forward at the top of the episode about the band, because they were not one-hit wonders. This band paid their dues. I mean, they kept kicking and clawing and scratching until they finally got their they're just deserve of everything that they had worked for.
I loved how upfront Dee was about something that you and I have talked about, and I've talked to friends about it over the years, but he talked about how he was successful. He became successful after struggling and getting all his inspiration for writing songs from that struggle, from that hunger. And then he was successful, and then he's trying to write songs, and he's like, I got nothing. Like, he's very honest about that. I feel like a lot of people who reach that level of success probably think they're writing their best stuff or whatever, but Chris, you said to him, like, you couldn't really tell. I don't go as deep into the Twisted Sister catalog. I just know the hits. But you said you couldn't tell, but I thought it was really cool how honest he was about that.
Well, I could tell in one sense from the interviews and everything I've seen from Dee over the years. He's admitted that his ego got in the way after Stay Hungry and all, sitting poolside writing the record, and he alienated his bandmates. But had I not have seen those interviews, I never really would have known. Come Out and Play from 1985 was just the next record. I loved that album. I think they picked the wrong first single on that record, but hindsight's 2020. History is what it is. But he's always been very honest and forthcoming, and that's been another thing I think it's been very refreshing about Dee Snider.
And I thought it was cool. He talked about, it seems like in the metal scene, there was also that kind of thing that we've talked about from the punk rock scene, especially in the 90s, early 2000s, the sellout thing. I think that was a part of the 80s metal culture. And I thought it was cool that he said, hey, if you're inspired by bands who sold millions of albums, if you're inspired by Queen, if you're inspired by Led Zeppelin, then how are you not gonna try to do that? How are you going to try to not sell millions of albums? And I was like, yeah, that really made sense to me.
Well, and he was speaking the truth. If you say to yourself, well, what's he mean? Like, these guys were nobodies before. We're not going to take it. That is not true. As I said earlier in the forward, these guys were selling out 2,000 to 3,000 seat venues all over New York State, up into New England, New Jersey, routinely doing 4, 5, 6 shows a week, selling them out. They were the local favorites, the regional favorites, and they just could not get a record deal. Kept, like I said, clawing and scratching, trying to get a record deal, and then there was a lot of luck here. Doug Morris from Atlantic Records US did not want anything to do with the band, down to where Marty Callner, the video director for We're Not Gonna Take It, called him, and basically by that point it's like, okay, money's being spent. I'm going to make this my idea. I want We're Not Going to Take It to be the single. Yeah, right, Doug.
Right. Hey, I thought it was cool too, and I've heard people say this a couple times in recent episodes. Des Rocks said this in his episode, that Dee wanted people to either love the band or hate the band. No in between, because if people love it, then they really love it. And if they hate it, they really hate it. I feel like I'm a little bit too sensitive of a person to feel that way. Like, I want everyone to like my band. And now I'm starting to realize, like, hey, haters are a good thing, because for every hater, there's a bunch of people that really love the band. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, no, and I think that's kind of, any kind of press is good press. It's like all those haters, they're still talking about you, even they might not love you, but they're still talking about you.
Exactly. And the one other thing I wanted to talk about with you real quick, Chris, was, the fact that Dee was told and then realized, like, oh my God, the melody of We're Not Gonna Take It is almost the same as Oh Come All Ye Faithful. And then he got into talking about, he referenced Elton John, talking about borrowing melodies from hymns. And I've brought this up when talking about bands and artists borrowing melodies from, like, nursery rhymes you knew as a kid. Blink-182 is always my example of that. Those leads, those simple leads and melodies and Blink songs always remind me of nursery rhymes. And like Dee said, there's something comforting about that.
Sure. And one last thing, Chris, that I thought, how many times, it's like a broken record. If we heard this on the show, here the producer, Tom Werman, wants to leave the 2 biggest songs, We're Not Going to Take It and I Want to Rock, on the cutting room floor. Dee had to get on his knees and practically beg the guy, and Dee couldn't have been more right.
I'm sure I can understand that a lot of time in people's stories, but it's 1983, 1984, and you hear the song We're Not Gonna Take It, and you say you want to pass on that?
You're handed a hit on a golden platter, and you want to pass on it. Unreal.
I don't get it. How did that guy get his job? I guess he probably had a good track record, but I don't know about that one.
Well, I'll tell you one track record that's pretty impressive, Chris, and that's 2021. All the brand new listeners that have joined us this year for Chris DeMakes A Podcast, all our new supporting cast members, thanks to each and every one of you. It's been awesome.
It's been a true joy in 2021 to create this podcast. I've said that maybe on the past couple of episodes, but it really has been, and I'm really happy. You're talking about track records, Chris. The list of guests that we've had this past year, I think, was pretty impressive. And I don't know. I love showing that to people when they ask me about the podcast. I'm like, hey, look at this list of guests we have. I think it's pretty damn good.
It is, and even further removed from year one, this year our guests have become more eclectic. We've gotten different genres, and that's something that you and I always wanted to do when we set out to do the show, is just, not just keep it in my world of punk and ska, to branch out, and I think we've done a great job of that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm not against doing the punk rock and the emo and the ska episodes and everything. I do think that's important. I think there's a lot of great songs to talk about, but man, if we limited ourselves to just that, I think that would get boring.
Yeah, no, and I think that we're getting some new listeners. It's funny. We get these messages from you, and thanks to each and everyone that writes us, that tells us this kind of stuff. We get messages from people that say, I wasn't necessarily into ska or punk music, but I love Seether. I tuned into that episode. I found out who Chris was, and I went back in your back catalog and I found all this amazing music and these amazing songs, and that's awesome.
I think it's the ultimate compliment when people, no offense, Chris, but when people don't know who you are or don't know who Less Than Jake was and just tuned into the show, whether it was because they saw it was an episode with somebody they liked, or just saw what the subject matter of the show was and happened to tune in, and then maybe in backwards way found out about who you are and who your band is, but I think that is like the ultimate compliment in a way, is if someone just enjoys the show and then is like, oh shit, this guy's in a popular band himself. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, no, it's really cool. And again, we have to thank all the listeners for everything that we're talking about, because without you guys, we probably wouldn't still be doing this. It's a lot of fun for Chris and I to do this podcast, but the joy is seeing all you enjoy the podcast each week. And I know it's hard to believe that 2021 is coming to a close, but I thank each and every one of you who's ordered a custom song from me this year. It's been overwhelming. That's right. I write and record personalized custom songs for you, that special someone, a loved one, friend, or foe, as well as jingles for businesses. Great for any occasion, and Valentine's Day is right around the corner, so if you'd like your very own custom song, email me, chrisdemakes@gmail.com for info. And if you haven't already, please join our Chris DeMakes A Podcast Facebook group with almost 4,000 active members. It's an awesome and fun little community. And give me a follow on Instagram at @LessThanChrisD. I'd really appreciate it. And Chris and I here at Chris DeMakes A Podcast would like to wish each and every one of you a very Merry Christmas. Thanks to this week's guest, Dee Snider, for sitting in with us, and we'll see you next week.
When you're part of a military family, you understand sacrifice and support. So at American Public University, we honor your dedication by extending our military tuition savings to your extended family. Parents, spouses, legal partners, siblings, and dependents all qualify for APU's preferred military rate of just $250 per credit hour for undergraduate and master's level programs. American Public University. Value for the whole family. Learn more at apu.apus.edu/military.
Hey, this is Steve Choi, host of the Musicians Guild podcast, part of the Sound Talent Media Podcast Network. Within the four walls of the Musicians Guild, we'll be discussing the habits, idiosyncrasies, experiences, and general psychology of my friends and peers, all involved with music in various capacities. Listen and subscribe at soundtalentmedia.com.